As of this recording, NYCC 2019 is on the flow, man, and though I can't be there in person, I can still partake in the festivities, so to speak, by way of this guy. It is the new Transformers Selects Siege Hot Shot. I don't even like Unicron Trilogy or its characters. Nevertheless, I ended up with Cybertron Defense Hot Shot somehow, some way. But is he actually any good? Is this a good reuse of that Hound mold? Well, we're about to find out in the latest GotBot True review. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. Please like, comment, share, of course subscribe, and while you're at it, yeah man, hit that notification bell because it lets you know when content of all kinds goes up here on the channel, from countdowns to stop motions to reviews like these. And while you're at it, why not check out Machinery of Man, the Everything Factor, Transformers Collectors, NL, the Autobot family, and me everywhere. And here we have Cybertron Defense Hot Shot. This is a Selects release. I believe it is available now for pre-order in the US, I think. I happened to get this guy locally from EB Games here in Canada. And I'm pretty happy with how he turned out. Here's the thing. When I looked at Hound, I had certain issues with this mold and the way that it pulled off that character that didn't quite work for me, though it has worked for a lot of people, and it is a good toy, so I can see the argument for it. And since this guy was announced and shown, there's actually been a little bit of controversy around him and just how well the mold fits him. But for somebody like myself, this might just be the best possible use that they could have for this mold. I'll explain what I mean when we head over to the table and take a closer look at this guy. And it's my understanding that on this New York Comic-Con 2019 weekend, as of this recording, we saw the pre-order release in the US, I think, for this guy. It is the Transformers Selects Siege Cybertron Defense Hot Shot. Up here, I managed to pick this guy up locally at EB Games. And I wasn't going to get him. I really wasn't going to get him for a number of reasons, but I'm weak, man, and I broke down and I got him. So we're going to begin and we're going to take a look at his very boring box first. And here we have the boring box. It's just your windowless brown Selects box. The only identifier is Hot Shot down on the bottom. That's it. There's nothing exciting here. I hope this is not the future of packaging, but I do like those nifty Siege instructions. They do a fine job. Yet again, it's one thing that I've actually liked kind of across the board for the Siege line is that the instructions are big and clear and bright. At least I find them to be. Of course, if you've been following along here on the channel for any length of time, you know that the stats page, is my favorite page. And the IR electroscope launcher is really the accessory that looks like Hound's shoulder or hollow emitter thing. And its strength isn't great, its accuracy is but it has a good range, I guess, so it's good for long range combat, I suppose. Then the other two accessories, the cylinder and the blaster, they go together and they give us the hollow beam refraction blaster. It's not, again, super strong, it doesn't have the greatest range, but it is pretty accurate. So like, he's not the strongest guy. Yeah, I'm just saying. Just for the record, this is the electroscope launcher. We know it as that hollow thing on the shoulder of Hound. It's painted nice with the red, and I love the silver. It looks good. And the other two accessories here are the hollow beam refraction blaster. You can see how they're put together. Again, it's nice. The only real difference from Hound is that we have a red piece of detailing here that was silver on Hound's blaster. Or you could do this. You could put them all together and get the HD Vector Beam Mega Blaster. No stats for it, but it looks pretty cool. And in vehicle mode, and of the about 6 ports available and 1 peg that by rights is used for the cylinder piece back here, you could place this cannon either in its component parts or in one big cannon form on this guy in a number of places. That being said, the original, I guess, vehicle mode for Cybertron Defense Hot Shot was like a Guardian armored security vehicle type of thing. I think it's called the APC, but I'm not sure about that. This is a Jeep. Granted, it looks like a pretty hefty Jeep, but it's a Jeep, so it's not exactly the same thing. And the original had like dual cannons on it. This has, I guess you could have dual cannons, but I put it together to have one big cannon. It's one of these situations where like I see what they're going for, but I can also understand how like kind of diehard Unicron Trilogy fans might not be the happiest with this. Now you will notice that we have this guy currently in vehicle mode because we already looked at the conversion going from robot to vehicle when we looked at Hound back in episode 492. And I said back then that I had certain issues with the mold. We're going to see if we, have a better experience here, the same experience, or what. We're going to begin and we're going to do the conversion first. Then we'll look at the scores for this guy. So we will start by taking the accessories out of it. We already know how they can be put together or taken apart. Then perhaps the next best thing to do would be to unclip the sides of the vehicle, but that's also the hardest. With Hound, I talked about how I was afraid that the pegs up here were eventually going to crack, or that I was going to crack the housing, or I'll even say it now, I also have a fear that I may actually crack the wheel off when trying to get the piece detached. There you go, there's the word I was looking for, unattached. Oh my. But I don't know, maybe that's tolerances vary, but now I've had 2 copies of this mold and I have the same issue both times. Let's get started here. Okay, so in terms of doing the conversion, let's get started here and we will unclip the sides. It's not fun to do it. And we'll bring it down on a hinge that's in here. We can even flip up his foot piece because that's going to be his foot piece. Over here we do the same thing. And we bring it down. And we flip up the foot piece, and now the whole thing kind of looks like this. We will come to the back here, and really you lift this up out of the way, and you can unpeg the knees. So you unpeg them, and you should be able to flip the legs down, but you need to sort of angle it out from under the roof section here. Flip it out, flip it down. Once you have both legs flipped down and you've kind of surpass this section here, now you need to fold the legs up using this black hinge, and they're going to tab on over this little, I guess, peg right here. So we fold that up and then we fold this up until it pegs in. Once it pegs in, straighten out the foot. Same over here, bring it around, peg it in. Once it's pegged in, straighten up the foot. And now he should be able to stand up and we should be able to move on with the upper body. The rest of it is fairly simple. From here we take the arms and bring it out to the side, and this arm all the way out to the side, all the way out to the side. We bring the chest piece down, we bring the arm in, and there's a little section right here that locks into this little section right here to hold the shoulders in place. We rotate the arms so we have our elbow facing forward. Same over here, elbow facing forward. We come here to the backpack, we fold this piece up and we fold this down onto his back. And boom, in the end here we have Hot Shot in his robot mode. I just went ahead and attached his accessory on his back because why not? Now we get into the interesting thing, and that's going to be his scores. The transformation. I said that the transformation for Hound was a 9. I say the same thing here. I still think it's a 9. It's the exact same transformation. There's a couple of things that, like I said, unnerve me. Unpegging the legs from the side unnerves me. The whole backpack is like a softer plastic. I don't know if that will crack eventually. Not that that is an integral piece anyway, but still, I mean, you wouldn't want it to crack. So it's good, but it's not perfect. It's a 9. Then we have the articulation. And the articulation for this guy is just as good as it was for Hound. We have... see if I can pull, oh, and I forgot to also pull back this piece behind his head. You can do that to give the head a greater range of motion. I don't think I did that with the Hound review, but I believe it was good friend of the channel, Masterfire, who pointed out that yes, you can pull that back. So left, right, a little up and down wiggle. We have arms that can go all the way around, out to the side, bicep swivel, 90-degree elbow, wrist swivel. The guy has a waist, legs forward, legs back, legs all the way out to the side, knee way deep, I mean way deeper than 90 degrees. We have ankle tilt. The only thing really missing from this mold would be articulated hands. Before a deluxe, it's pretty outstanding. I'm gonna say, like I said before, it's a 10. We have a 9, we have a 10. That's a 9.5 for a character from a series that I'm not even a fan of. Then we have the color. Now when I think of Hot Shot, I think of the like yellow and red car that he was in Armada. The annoying little lad that was right up there with, you know, Kicker, Wheelie, and Bumblebee for me in terms of annoying characters. Oh, and Ironhide from Energon, he was bad too. But here's the thing. When I first saw this, because I'm not familiar with the Unicron Trilogy enough, I was like, I don't even know what this is from, man. I'm not familiar enough with it. And I, of course, found out that it's from Cybertron. And I went back and kind of like rewatched some stuff and whatnot. And I learned that in Japan, apparently, the Armada Hot Shot and this guy are two different characters, I think. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. But here in North America, Hot Shot is the one example of the one character from the Unicron Trilogy that I felt like actually evolved over all 3 iterations of that trilogy and became less annoying. He grew up. Like the Armada Hot Shot got on my nerves. But by the time Cybertron came, he seemed more grown up. He seemed to take things more seriously. He was more experienced, and he didn't kind of grate on my nerves nearly as much as he once did. He matured, and in doing so, I came to actually like his character more. So if I'm going to have a version of this guy, kind of happy to have this version of it. If you look at the animation and you look even at the toy, the paint apps and whatnot are fairly accurate here. I mean, really, we have the red where the red should be on the thighs and on the forearms. We have the blue really where the blue should be on the like lower legs and kind of up around his chest and shoulders and whatnot. I think the hands maybe are supposed to be like a silver or a gunmetal gray type of thing, so they're blue here, so that's not quite accurate. There is some black detailing down on his shins, we have that. There's tires on his shins, we have that. We don't have the tires that are up on his shoulders, or kind of the shoulder pauldrons here, with the 2 cannons sticking out over the sides of his head. Now you can take the blaster piece apart, and that shoulder thing like Hound has, you can certainly put it on this guy's shoulder, no problem. In place of the black tires that are supposed to be on the outer side of his shoulders, we do have black panels, I suppose, out there. So the color is there, even though the tire is not. The yellow on the chest, there's 2 yellow circles on his chest. They're bigger and more pronounced than they are here, but at least they're there. The placement of the silver is correct, but the whole kind of look of the chest is definitely stylized here. We even have the yellow on his pelvis done correctly. So there's a lot that's actually done right here. It's just the mold itself is a little bit of a stretch. I'm going to say in terms of accuracy to the character, as somebody who's not super invested in the character, I'm going to say that this is an 8. If you know the character, you're probably definitely going to know it. If you didn't know by the body, you're definitely going to know it. You're definitely going to know it by the head sculpt, because the head sculpt is fantastic. I don't have the Universe 2008 version of Hot Shot where he was the car, but I feel like that is a good iteration of his car mode. This is an acceptable iteration of this mode. But to be fair, I find it very interesting that we've had 2 departures from G1 in the Siege line, and it's this guy from Cybertron and the Galaxy Upgrade Optimus, which is Cybertron Optimus. They're both from Cybertron, which I find very, very interesting. If I'm saying overall that I think this guy is an 8 for his look, he was already getting a 9 combined. His overall score is about an 8.5. It is a decent figure. It is a decent Hot Shot, but it's definitely stylized and not the best. Obviously, a new and dedicated mold would be ideal. That being said as well, there's no mistaking that he does win for one absolutely fantastic feature that kind of beats everything out. It's something that I don't usually kind of harp on, but I'm going to here because I think it's so very good, that being his awesome head sculpt. I think that's absolutely beautiful. It's painted perfectly. It's sculpted impeccably. And for somebody like myself who's not really a Unicron Trilogy fan, it's going to fit the bill just perfectly on my shelf. And here we are once again with Cybertron Defense Hot Shot. And I find it really interesting that we've only kind of had two departures from G1 in the Siege line, so to speak. The Galaxy Upgrade Optimus Prime, which is really Cybertron Optimus Prime, and now another Cybertron iteration, because we could have got another version of Hot Shot. Like I said earlier, my understanding is that in North America, this is just the same character getting older, taking on different colors and a different alt mode. In Japan, apparently my understanding, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that they're two different characters. I really don't know. I really don't know. But that's my take on it. I'm gonna go with the North American fiction because that's what I know. And as a iteration of that Cybertron Defense Hotspot, to me this is good enough because I'm not a Unicron Trilogy fan, and honestly, for Hot Shot, I think I said Hotspot there a second ago. For me, Hot Shot's not, a step above Wheelie. I was never a huge fan of Hot Shot. But to be fair, I know that this isn't particularly necessarily intended for me, or maybe it is. Maybe it's intended for that fringe fan that isn't really into the Cybertron line, but you know what? Yeah, that bears a vague resemblance, although the head sculpt is quite fantastic. To the diehard fans of the Unicron Trilogy, I could see how you might look at this and say, I see what you're going for, but it's not quite right because it's not I think it's APC, I think is the vehicle, I believe. It works for me, but I also understand the argument that it doesn't work for everyone. What do you guys think about him? Do you think he's worth the pickup? Do you like the mold enough to get it as Hot Shot? As always, you know I love to hear from you guys. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, don't forget that there is a donate link down in the description. And most importantly, do not forget ever that somehow, someway, each and every day, you do make a difference. And I look forward to the next time that you and I get together, either in the live streams at the stop motion premieres or the old fashioned way, right here to have another visit inside the videos.